This video is for anyone looking for help to stop smoking cigarettes, or someone who wants to provide support for someone who wants to stop smoking cigarettes. I'm Sheridan and I'm a university student at UNE, and I'm currently undertaking a module in behaviour modification. Here we learn techniques and skills to change people's behaviours and find alternative behaviours in its place. In this instance, smoking cigarettes is an undesirable behaviour, and thus there are techniques that we can use to replace the behaviour of smoking cigarettes, the target behaviour, and replace that with better behaviours. So the first process we need to do is to find a support person. In any addiction, it is very helpful if you have someone along the way to encourage you and to provide support, someone you can call if you need just a little bit of help. Compliments are another way that will help you in your success. So once we gain a support person and build a really good relationship with them, someone you can trust, we need to go about observing the behaviour to create a baseline, to see where we're coming from, to see what sort of addiction you have. Now to do this, we need to observe the behaviour on a daily or weekly basis and gain a figure, if you like, in this case of how many cigarettes you're smoking. To do this, you just need to record every cigarette smoked in that day, in that week, and keep a record of it. Now, along with keeping a record of smoking, another important self-management tool is to undertake a functional assessment. Now, this is a tool to look at triggers or antecedents that make you desire a smoke. The other thing is to evaluate the consequences, or what you are getting out of each cigarette that you smoke. So to do this, we can incorporate this functional analysis into your recording, your observation methods. So to do this, what you need to do for each cigarette that you smoke is you need to record how you felt before each cigarette, the activity you were undertaking before each cigarette, and the consequences, so how you felt directly after having the cigarette. All of this can be looked at on a weekly basis, and do this with your support person. You will find that each cigarette may actually have a completely different reason behind it, a different trigger. So the only way that we are going to conquer these cigarettes is if we target the underlying reason as to why you're smoking. Now to do this, once we have reached the end of the functional analysis, we will target the undesirable behaviour specifically to each cigarette. Now, in behaviour management, reinforcement is the most prominent way of stimulating a behaviour or promoting a behaviour, because the consequences are immediate. So in this case, smoking is positively reinforced because the consequence of you feeling less stressed or more relaxed is immediate. Now, in terms of smoking, one factor we need to consider is the physical reinforcement that you're gaining. So physiologically, the nicotine is providing an instant reinforcement, and this is quite hard to overcome. So in this manner, we may need to use nicotine replacements as an option to abolish operations, or abolishing the actual consequence that you're gaining from the cigarette. You need to concentrate on that reinforcement. Now, if you choose to go down this path, the physiological side will be dealt with. And then it might help you look at the urges more easily, and we can look at those, target those separately. So once we get to this point, and once we find out what the reason behind each cigarette is, we can target that accordingly. Now we can look at these in a number of ways. For example, a cigarette that you take for instant stress relief, we need to find a tool that can help your stress. Find more desirable behaviours. Now in smoking cigarettes, we have a number of alternative behaviours that we can employ. These range from hand manipulation, so using something else instead of cigarettes. This might be stress balls. You might choose to practice some juggling. Another tool we could use is chewing gum, and this helps with the mouth stimulation. Most importantly, or as importantly, is we need to change the routines associated with you smoking your cigarettes. This may involve changing areas that you go to where you usually smoke. You may even need to change social crowds until you get this under control. These are all various factors that influence your smoking. And if you change these routines, it might make it a bit easier. Another factor to consider is a technique called mindfulness. Now mindfulness allows you to acknowledge the present moment as it is. So your body and everything around you at that moment. You acknowledge your thoughts, you acknowledge your feelings. And urge surfing is a type of this. As it implies, you are riding the wave of an urge and acknowledging it. Now you may need help through this, and there are books and internet sites that can help you with mindfulness techniques. It just changes your thought patterns, and it helps you deal with urges as they arise and look at them differently. Now further to this, once you have established some different alternative behaviours, you can apply all these together. When you apply these together and feel confident with the help of your support person, you may like to have a go at having a smoke-free day. Now this will be hard, and your support person is there to contact throughout the day. Tell them how you're feeling, how you're going. Now all the techniques that you have learned, you can apply these. Now it's going to be hard, but it's a practice day. After this, have an evaluation of it and see how you went, where you thought you did really well and what worked for you, and then where you felt that there were some failings in the program. Beyond this, you can then target specific cigarettes that maybe you couldn't give up or you couldn't put aside. Then these can be targeted. Now, upon your quit day, this is an ongoing goal. So you need to address this on a daily basis. Now, the self-management tool that you are using should be continued for a very long period, as long as you need. But it makes you accountable for every cigarette you've smoked, and it provides you insight, something that you may not have considered before as to why you're smoking. So once you understand these reasons, you can address them and feel more confident about targeting them.